Hello and welcome, Mr. Rajnish Girdhar, co-founder, director, and CIO of Karma Capital.
Co-founder क्यों है वो ऋषभ है. I am the CEO for the firm.
रजनीश जी 20 साल से मार्केट में है. He was prior to Karma with Invesco Asset Management, Reliance Asset Capital and Asset Management, and ICICI Bank group also. Rajnish ji, could you just introduce our investor your journey in the markets?
Okay, interesting, very interesting. So I've been in the financial services for over 25 years, almost 30 years now. So 30 साल हो गए ये करते हुए. But the journey started in very different ways. So I have had a bit of an industry experience when I started with Xerox, which used to be Modi Xerox at one point in time. I have also done some stint as for a trainer, as a sales trainer. And then I got into the market from a financial services, if you want to call it that. So I spent 10 years with ICICI Bank, where I helped set up a bank in Russia. I helped set up a wealth management unit in Toronto. I used to run the NRI private wealth business for them, apart from doing a lot of work on the consumer side. So fairly varied experience. So I'm not what you call as a classic market specialist, but I've done a lot of work across the financial services world. Then I spent 5 years with Reliance, which is now called Nippon Mutual Fund. I used to run the international business representing Reliance across the world, pitching our India equity and fixed income capabilities, especially in Middle East and Asia, a lot of work in Europe as well. And in fact, we did a lot of work with private banks in the Singapore and Dubai markets. We set up funds in Mauritius. So did a lot of interesting work around the market side. Then I moved over to Invesco, where I used to be a senior client portfolio manager. Now, what is that? That is something which is an investment specialist. So I was the only investment specialist for a country in the Invesco world. Everybody is typically an asset class specialist. कोई Asia equity specialist है, कोई fixed income specialist from Europe, or somebody is a US municipal specialist. But I used to be the only country specialist in the Invesco world. So I spent 8 years there. Used to work across the world with all the sales teams of Invesco. Also used to spent 4 years in Singapore running the investment distribution business for NRIs. And then 4 years in Bombay, as I said, as an investment specialist, international business head, whatever you want to call it. So, international business is a role which is kind of a mix of markets and sales and product and everything else. So it's kind of it's a very varied and a very interesting role, because you end up meeting institutional clients. You could be working with your sales colleagues. And then a couple of years back, I joined Karma as the CEO for the firm. This has been in brief my 30-year journey across, started in 94, so exactly 30 years now as we speak.
Very interesting journey. That way, a very diversified, what I would say, background you have, जिसका definitely investors को फायदा होगा while investing in your through your fund, definitely through your investment vehicle. We just started कि आपका brief introduction तो हो गया, लेकिन what I would like to have just a brief about ourselves, what we do.
Okay.
We as a AIF and PMS Experts India, we have a very interesting proposition, जिसमें we are a digital platform wherein we advise our clients starting from AIF, PMS to direct equities, all including debt also. And here we consider ourselves as a data analyst.
Okay.
Data analytics कि जहाँ पे हम जो भी अवेलेबल इन्वेस्टमेंट व्हीकल्स हैं, सबके पोर्टफोलियोज एनालाइज करके उस हिसाब से हम क्लाइंट को और क्लाइंट की नीड समझ के एज पर देयर प्रोफाइल क्या उनकी रिस्क प्रोफाइल है वो समझ के हम क्लाइंट को उस हिसाब से सलाह देते हैं.
Okay.
एंड दिस इज आवर आस्क द एक्सपर्ट शो, जहाँ पे आप अभी यू आर गेस्ट ऑफ अर्स. यहाँ पे हमारे इन्वेस्टर्स जो रेगुलर हमें फॉलो करते हैं वो लॉग इन करते हैं, और आप आपका जो भी व्यू रहेगा, आपके एएमसी का जो असेट मैनेजमेंट कंपनी का जो व्यू रहेगा वो सुनते हैं. उस हिसाब से उनका भी विजडम बढ़ता है डेफिनेटली, और हमारा भी डेफिनेटली. आप आप जैसे नॉलेजेबल लोगों को हम भी सुनते हैं तो हम डेफिनेटली हमारा भी विजडम बढ़ता है. दैट इज ऑल अबाउट.
Fantastic. No,
तो
thank you for having us here and calling us an expert. Appreciate it.
डेफिनेटली यू आर.
Hmm.
सीधा क्वेश्चन पे आता हूँ.
आइए.
तो as our subject line is there that early cycle investing a differentiated approach. तो जस्ट मैं मेरे हमारे इन्वेस्टर के लिए जानना चाहता हूँ कि हाउ यू डिफाइन साइकिल्स और बिजनेस साइकिल्स इन शॉर्ट.
Okay. See, life, everything goes through a cycle. See, it doesn't matter. You can talk about business, you can talk about economy, you can talk life also, right? Everybody goes through a cycle. कभी भी life एक और business एक smooth sailing one way or the other नहीं होता है. It always moves in a cycle. And even the best of companies. So it will go through a cycle. Now, the only difference could be that there could be a short cycle or there could be a long cycle. A cycle could be a couple of years long or a cycle could be 20 years long. Now, just to, so our job is to find out, and there are times when the business is going on a downturn and there is a time when the business starts to come on the upturn and then really go into a growth phase. Sometimes it peaks out, stables out, maybe falls down, and then starts to regrow again. Now, all of this is what we try and track, because Hamara worldview is very simple, that if I can catch a great company which has gone through a slightly bad phase and is going through the next growth cycle, then we believe we can get stocks and companies at reasonable prices, hold them for long periods of time, and make significant amount of money. Because जब एक business अपने bottom से grow करना शुरू करता है दोबारा, तो वो cycle usually लंबी होती है. Now it could be 3, 5, 10 years, 20 years long, we don't know. बट नॉर्मली हम 3 साल देखते हैं, बट पांच हमारा वर्ल्ड व्यू ये होता है कि ये अभी अगले 5-7 साल अच्छी बिजनेस ग्रोथ साइकिल में जा रहा है. एंड आई थिंक दैट इज वेयर what we call as a cycle. The economies go through the same cycle. So while we track companies, we don't worry about economies, and we can't control. What we do is we look at business cycles, but economies go through the same thing. Life goes through the same thing. So I think cycle is what we look at, and this is for us the most important thing.
ये जो बिजनेस साइकिल इन्वेस्टिंग है उसको आप कैसे देखते हो? यानी इज इट अ टॉप डाउन अप्रोच और बॉटम्स अप अप्रोच? यानी आप क्या इन्वेस्टिंग है ये?
Pramod, can you take it to that slide where we talk about the narratives and everything else? Maybe I'll also why don't we just stay for 1 minute on karma, and I'll probably just quickly give a background of karma, and then, I'll take you to that cycle as well. Okay. So just allow us 2 minutes to, talk about us. So
Yes,
as
yes,
we
very
said,
good.
Karma is an 18-year-old firm. We've delivered a track record of 20%, generating 3%, 4% alpha over the last 10 years. But I think the second word which says कि हमारा process orientation leads to differentiated outcome. And this is what we are talking about, right? So this is a very key important part for us. कि हमारे portfolios जब लोग हमारे पास आते हैं, they come and they want something differentiated. See, normally when you add funds or portfolios to your equity portfolio, you want something differentiated. Same portfolio अगर 5 बार ले लोगे तो कुछ फायदा नहीं है. So can we provide something different? And that is what we do. And it is a part of a process. ये हमारी की स्किल है. ये 18 साल से एज अ प्रोसेस कर रहे हैं. नॉर्मली व्हेन यू डू अर्ली साइकिल, यू नॉर्मली एट टाइम्स कॉन्ट्रेरियन. कभी कभी ऐसा हो जाता है बिकॉज आई आइडेंटिफाई अ स्टॉक अर्ली इन द साइकिल, तो आई माइट लुक काउंटर सिक्लिकल और आई माइट लुक कॉन्ट्रेरियन, बट उससे क्या होता है कि हम ग्रोथ एट रीजनेबल प्राइस की जो बात करते हैं इंडिया में, कि कैन आई फाइंड अ स्टॉक एट रीजनेबल प्राइस बाय सेइंग कि अगर कंपनी 20% पे ग्रो कर रही है, कैन आई गेट इट एट 15-20 टाइम्स वैल्यूएशन और चीपर, वो अर्ली साइकिल में आता है। एंड हम जेन्युइनली वो प्रैक्टिस करना चाहते हैं। सो वी ट्राई एंड कैच आइडियाज अर्ली इन their growth cycle, and I'll take you through that cycle. And then I can probably give you a couple of examples as well. So we run, and what it allows us, we probably end up losing money in a lot less stocks than most people, and hopefully make money over a fairly long period of a cycle. So this is where we are. We manage about 6,000 crores, 80% plus is offshore money. And these cycles can be seen in all kinds of companies, small, mid, and large cap. ऐसा नहीं है कि बड़ी कंपनी ये साइकिल नहीं देखती है, छोटी कंपनी सिर्फ ये साइकिल देखती है. एंड दैट्स द ब्यूटी अबाउट दिस प्रोसेस, दैट वी आर एबल टू फाइंड कंपनीज व्हिच आर फेयरली लार्ज, even in their fairly large companies which are coming out of bad cycles. Pramod, you can take it to the next one. So here you look at, this is what essentially defines early cycle investing. Okay. क्या होता है कि first, typically the business bottoms out. So as you're coming on the left, you're seeing the blue chart, which is the business line. The business bottoms out first, the stock bottoms out second, and the narrative about the company bottoms out the third. What do I mean by that? Okay. अभी क्या हुआ कि let's take an example of Bharti, okay, as a stock, theoretically. 2016 में telecom में there used to be 8-9 players. Jio आया, a lot of bloodbath happened in the industry, and the businesses started to bottom out. But stock उस टाइम पे भी bottom out immediately नहीं होता, 2-3 साल लगते हैं. But narrative कि पूरा टेलीकॉम सेक्टर नहीं चलेगा, वो उसके और बाद में आता है. Now then what happened? Then what happened was in 2020 तक this entire industry consolidated. Okay. The 10, 8, 9, 10 player market became a 3-player market in which the third player was Vodafone, which was also struggling. तो उस टाइम पे क्या हुआ? उस टाइम पे भारती took a first price hike in almost 4 years. Okay. उसके बाद जियो ने already maybe 300-400 million customers आ चुके थे, and they sold their stock off to Google and Meta. So now what is happening? So Jio has decided that they've got enough market share. They want to now make money when you go out to an external investor. पर narrative तब तक भी change नहीं हुआ था. पब्लिक क्या बोल रही थी? ये टेलीकॉम सेक्टर तो 3-4 साल से 5 साल से चला नहीं है, आगे भी नहीं चलेगा. ये नैरेटिव है. तो पहले बिजनेस बॉटम आउट होके ग्रो करना शुरू हुआ, उसके बाद धीरे धीरे एज पब्लिक डिस्कवर्ड, स्टॉक थोड़ा ग्रो करना शुरू होता है, और फिर नैरेटिव बदलता है, जो 1-2 साल के बाद बदला कि हाँ अब टेलीकॉम सेक्टर में तो पैसा बनेगा बिकॉज इंडस्ट्री कंसोलिडेट हो गई एंड भारती हैज प्रूवन टू बी अ स्ट्रॉन्ग प्लेयर. Okay, one of the only 3 which survived this entire episode. So this is what we call as early cycle investing. और उस टाइम पे क्या होता है कि as we said, there is a Taylor Swift song which came a year or so back. It's very exhausting to root for an anti-hero because उस टाइम पे भारती anti-hero था. और ऐसे बहुत सारे stocks हम खरीदते हैं which are at that point in time anti-hero. So sometimes it is hard, it is exhausting to be able to root for the anti-hero and say कि हम कुछ देख रहे हैं जो दुनिया शायद अभी नहीं देखना चाहती है या नहीं देख रही है. And that is what we call as early cycle investing. इसमें क्या होता है कि ये जब बिजनेस ग्रो करना शुरू करता है, तो अगर लोगों ने डिस्कवर नहीं करा होता तो हमको प्राइसिंग अच्छा मिलता है. बिकॉज मार्केट में इंडिया में क्या है कि जब व्हेन द ग्रोथ गेट्स डिस्कवर्ड तो ऑटोमेटिकली प्राइसिंग महंगा होना शुरू हो जाता है, वैल्यूएशंस बिकम एक्सपेंसिव. वी डोंट लाइक पेइंग expensive valuation. So by doing this, we are able to get a stock at a reasonable price. And this is what follows our growth at reasonable price philosophy. A lot of people in India might say, boss, I am buying a quality stock by paying 50 times valuation for a 20% growth. That's completely their perspective. But we believe we can make better money if we're able to catch this at an early price. And that is the only thing we control. So this is the key for us. We want to be very cautious of the entry price that we pay, which we are able to do because we do early cycle, because the growth has not been discovered. And then we like to hold it for long periods of time. So जब आप ये growth phase में जा रहे हैं, आप इसको जितना जल्दी कैच कर सकते हैं अच्छी बात है, बट इवन इफ यू कीप कैचिंग इट टू स्लाइटली हायर लेवल, you can still hold it for a fairly long periods of time in its cycle. And that is the whole idea. This is what we call as early cycle, and I can keep talking about it, but this is the broad thinking that we have.
वेरी वेरी वेल एक्सप्लेन सर। उसी के बाद में मैं थोड़ा ये पूछना चाहूंगा कि ये तो हो गया, आप ट्रेंड डिसाइड कर रहे हो क्या ट्रेंड रहेगा, लेकिन स्टॉक स्पेसिफिक व्हाट इज योर अप्रोच? ये तो ओवरऑल सेक्टर का आइडिया आपने दे दिया कि हाउ यू सिलेक्ट द सेक्टर, बट व्हाट अबाउट स्टॉक, हाउ यू पिक इट?
So maybe I didn't explain it properly. Let me restart it again. So we are bottom up stock pickers. Actually क्या होता है कि हम कंपनी का साइकिल देखते हैं सिर्फ. Okay. Now, so what we are seeing is the business cycle of a company. Uh, and we have been typically been tracking these companies for fairly long periods of time. Now to give you an example, जब हम मैं भारती के ऊपर ही रहता हूँ because it's an easier example for people to relate to. हमने जब पहली बार भारती खरीदा था, जो हमारे CIOs ने, Rishabh used to be the CIO for Kotak Mutual Fund in 2003-2005. Rishabh bought that stock there. And after that, we bought the stock 15 years later in Karma. So we had been tracking this company for 15 years. So, ये करना, ये बोलना बहुत आसान है, पर ये करना बहुत मुश्किल होता है, because you are tracking a company through a bad phase, through a good phase, or you started tracking it when it was its peak, the business went down, and then you started going up. So what we do is we start with the stock because we are bottom up stock pickers, and then we start analyzing the sector. तो हमारे को कैटलिस्ट फॉर चेंज बहुत जरूरी है। जैसे मैं आपको बता रहा था ना कि जब मैं ये बिजनेस ट्रैक कर रहा हूँ, हाउ डू आई से कि बॉस ये बिजनेस का साइकिल बदल गया है। I need catalysts. I need to see the catalyst that the change has actually happened. Sometimes the catalyst can be a price hike. Sometimes it can be a management change. Sometimes it can be a new market development which has made their products far more attractive. Sometimes it's the industry consolidating. So in this case, there were multiple things which were happening. The industry was consolidating. The catalyst, they took the change. Reliance sold out or Jio sold out. So हम कंपनी को ट्रैक कर रहे हैं. As we start tracking the company, then we look at the sector because we believe कि अगर कंपनी अच्छा कर रही है और उसके साथ साथ सेक्टर भी अच्छा करने लगेगा, तो then it is a dual win. So you have a tailwind to the sector, then the stock also grows well. So this is what we are looking for in a company. We track companies, then we look at sectors.
Right now, as a markets, यदि आप ग्लोबल पर्सपेक्टिव से देखोगे तो we are reasonably priced market. Where you see value now in this period? In which sectors you see the value now?
Okay. See, as we always say, when you run concentrated portfolios, we run concentrated portfolios of 20-25 stocks. And we are averagely hold them for 3 to 5 years. तो मेरे को क्या है कि हर साल सिर्फ I need only 3 to 5 new ideas coming into the portfolio and 3 to 5 ideas exiting in a portfolio. So in general, are there pockets in the market which are expensive? There are definitely pockets in the market which are expensive. There could be certain sectors which are expensive or certain sectors which we don't like. And, there are a lot of, there are a couple of slides ahead which talk about fragmentation and consolidation, and we'll talk about that as we go forward. But if you do your jobs well and you're only looking to find 3, 4, 5 new ideas, there is always stocks and valuations available. ऐसा नहीं है कि पूरी market expensive है. ऐसा नहीं है कि सारे sectors expensive हैं. If you look at our top holding today, it's pharmaceutical and healthcare. And even today, the stocks that we own are still reasonably priced. So pharmaceuticals, again, as we said, we talk about narratives. तो क्या था कि मे बी 4-5 साल पहले तक नैरेटिव फार्मास्यूटिकल्स के ऊपर नेगेटिव था because a lot of pharma companies had done a lot of capital misallocation and gone into wrong kind of investments or acquisitions which didn't play out well. But a lot of these companies started, recorrecting that. And in the last 3-4 years, they've significantly changed their balance sheets. For example, if I give you an idea of Shipla we started buying about 4 years back. At that point in time, the net debt on their balance sheet was 3,500 crores. Today, they are at 7,000 crores free cash, which means they have significantly throwing out free cash flow. So, what we are looking for is companies which are underlying doing well, generating free cash flows, and are still at reasonable valuation. So, we believe pharma sector is at a place where FMCG was 10, 15, 20 years back. Top 20 players control maybe less than 55% of the market in the domestic pharma space. And slow and steady consolidation is happening. So the big will keep getting bigger, and maybe some of the smaller players will get wiped out, as is happening. So this and the valuations are still reasonable. Cipla probably for a growth of 20-25% over the next 3-4 years is still trading at more less than 25 times valuation. So we are fairly bullish on the pharmaceutical sector. We are bullish on the telecom sector. So we own Bharti, as we were telling you. And I think that, and then we own a very interesting comtech company called Tata Communication. We believe, see again, हम जब इन्वेस्टिंग करते हैं तो वी डोंट लुक एट द रियर व्यू मिरर एंड से कि लास्ट 20 साल में ये चला था तो यही चलेगा, या अगले पिछले 10 साल में यही चला था तो अगले 10 साल भी यही चलेगा. What we are saying is, where is the next opportunity? India is getting richer. $2,500 per capita income, 1,000 to maybe whatever $2,500 per capita income में जो spends थे will be significantly different when we move from here to $5,000. So we are looking at ideas which will do well. And when people get richer, where do they spend their money on? On more discretionary spends, healthcare, telecom, media entertainment, airlines, tourism, flying, right? So all of those things is what we are looking for. We are looking for the next opportunity, and I think there is opportunity as we continue, as we said, pharmaceutical, healthcare, telecom. We're still seeing opportunities, select pockets in maybe the auto ancillary sectors. So those are certain areas that we definitely see opportunities on.
Well said. कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव आइडिया डेफिनेटली हमारे इन्वेस्टर्स को आ गई होंगी आपसे ये जो हमने बातचीत की उससे डेफिनेटली. I I really thank you for your deep insight about your investing philosophy and your idea. The last question that is there in my mind वो मैं एक पूछ ही लेता हूँ. तो as a country, where you see India next 10 years as a country? You can say it as a GDP level or per capita, basically per capita से आप यदि मेजर करना चाहे तो.
देखिए, अगर मेरे हिसाब से इंडिया इज इन अ वेरी गुड स्पेस राइट नाउ. I think fundamentally, as I said, I've been doing tracking India, talking about India for the last 15, 20 odd years and even more. I've never seen an India which is by and large very good from a macro and a micro perspective. So our inflation is under control, growth is reasonable, growth is happening, inflation is under control, balance sheets are good, whether it is a customer, individual balance sheet, corporate balance sheet, banking balance sheet, even government balance sheet. So I think on a core level, India today is as well placed as I've ever seen India in, which means that, and as you said, the consumer, we are a consumer driven economy and we are still young and we are still growing. So next 10 years for India, see, forget what the stock markets will do. They will go through their volatilities up and down. But I think India as a country is in a fantastic space. Yahan se 6-7% growth looks reasonable. If that growth happens in the next 10 years, will our per capita income should ideally double from here? If that doubles, we are now low middle income, we'll probably become a middle income country. That $2,500 to $5,000 journey, and that will be a significant change. This country will be exploding, right? You'll probably be sitting at maybe an $8 trillion economy, maybe closer to a $10 trillion economy. That's a significant change. So I think fundamentally India is in a great space. Anybody who's investing in India over the next 3-5 years will definitely make money. Will there be volatility? Obviously, there will be volatility. Equity markets, there will be global events, there will be issues. But I think if we look at the last 20 years of India's history, or 15, 20 years, if we've survived a global financial crisis, we've survived a 2013 crisis, we've survived a 2018 debt crisis, we've survived a 2021-22. So if we've done all of that, I think, and we were not in such a good shape at that point in time. Today, we are in a much better macro and micro shape. So I think the next 10 years look very, very good for India. Uh, uh, they could be,
Very
they
good.
could,
Thank you.
that's my thought process.
Thank you. Thank you very much once again for giving your valuable time, Mr. Rajneesh. Thank you very much from ourselves, and we give all of your journey a best luck.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you so much for hosting us. Really a pleasure. And if anybody has any questions, please send it to us. We'll be happy to answer whenever you need anything.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.